So this is a follow-up to a question that I received on the sandbox that I thought was an easy fix that turns out that it is a little bit more complicated than I thought. So we're going to get into a little bit just talking about plot styles here in AutoCAD, and there's some things that get into the weeds a little bit, but something to know is that there's two different kinds of plot styles now in the new AutoCAD. So we have a CTB, which is a color-dependent plot style, and an STB, which is a named plot style. So the big difference between the two here, and we'll show them both in action, and you can see the difference sort of in the actual AutoCAD interface. But here what we're looking at is a CTB being a color dependent, which means that you're going to be able to pick any of the colors that are in AutoCAD, and you're going to be able to set very specific ways that each of those plot. So whatever color you have in model space, you can set a way for that to plot once it gets to paper space. An STB is a little bit different. So it's a plot style that's assigned to object and layers. So what you're going to do is you're going to apply those to either a specific object or a specific layer, and it's going to change how those plot. So it's not going to be dependent on color whatsoever. It's going to be dependent on basically what it's mapped to. So slightly different reasons. I'm going to post this below this video, but you can go through the sort of pros and cons of each and why you would use one or the other. So we're going to start out with what this is starting as. So the question is in the layout space. So we have our model space here, and then we have our layout space. And what we're looking to do is actually preview this as it's going to plot. So typically what you would do is you would right click on this, go to Page Setup Manager, and then you click Modify. And you can see here that we have a display plot styles selected here. And the problem is that we have a monochrome.stb. So what that is an STB file that's telling this to be monochrome. But it's not, when we go to display, it's still displaying it as our basic object colors. So what we're going to do is dig into a little bit of why this is happening. So if we right click on this and go to Page Setup Manager and then Modify, we can click this little button next to our plot style, and this plot style table editor is going to pop up. So you probably won't have style 2 here. So let's go into the form view, and we'll actually just delete this style first. So you'll see something probably that looks like this. So we're on normal right now, and it says color. So this is going to be what it plots on. Color is going to be use object color. So that's actually why it's printing to be these colors right now, is because it's set to this normal style. So if we go over to monochrome STB and then we look at style number 1 and we change this to black, and then all of the rest of the settings are going to be exactly the same. Then we go over to form view, we'll look at the same thing. So black is going to be selected as our plot color. So let's go to save and close, and then we can actually click out of this and click out of this. Now where you're actually making this setting selection is going to be at this level. So you can make it at the object level as well, but here we're going to look at it at the layer level. So where we see plot style and we see it says normal, so if we click on that, we can see that we have an option for style 1. And then active plot style table is going to be monochrome.stb. So we can choose which one that is if we've adjusted all of these different ones, but here we're in monochrome. So we're going to go to style 1, then click OK. If you want to do more than one at once, you can just click and then hold shift and then click, and it'll change it for all of them. So if we then change all of them to style 1 and we go back over to layout 2, let's try a regen first. So it's not going to do it automatically. So let's go to do a save as, and I'm just going to save this as temp, and I have a couple of these, so I'll just save it as temp 3. So now if we go and we open this back up, we'll see that on our layout 2, that's actually previewed as that style 1 setting. So what we can do to prove that this is working, let's go into page setup. So I guess the other way to access this, the plot styles, would be to go to styles manager. You're going to have this pop up. You probably won't have all of these, but we're going to find the monochrome STB. You can tell the difference because these say color dependent, and then this one just says plot style. So if we go to form 2, let's go ahead and add a style. So we'll add style 2, and let's go ahead and have that print as red. So we'll do save, and then we can X out of that. And then let's only have, let's say, one of these layers. So which one of these layers should we have? let's say we choose this layer and we'll go to style 2. So we'll have that one print as red. So again, we'll do a save as. We'll save this as a different version, temp 4. And then we'll go to file, open. We'll open temp 4. Whoops. And then when we go over the layout, you'll see that that's red. So here the problem is that we're actually previewing as all black now also. So all of these lines are previewing at the level of their plot style. So to get rid of that, what we're going to do is making sure everything is deselected. We're going to go over to our properties menu. And again, if this is not shown, you can just type properties and that window will pop up. And then under plot style, again, with nothing selected, if we go from monochrome.stb and to none, and then we type regen, that will change all of our colors back in our actual model space. And it will keep all of our colors in our paper space the same. So what I'm going to do is just save this out again just to make sure that we're good. So temporary 6. Then we're going to X out of this. Then we'll go to open drawing and we'll go to number 6. And then you can see that we are good in paper space and we're also good in model space. So what you're just going to want to make sure is that in model space you have nothing selected, and then in paper space you have your actual STB file saved. So now I'm going to reopen this file and I'll show another way to get around this. So if we have this original file and we don't want to go through that route, we want to go through the original route of a CTB, and I'll show the difference again in a second between what those are. What we're going to do is type underscore and then convert P styles. So that's convert plot styles. And it's going to say converts a named plot style drawing to be a color dependent plot style, and we'll click OK. So now what we're going to do is when we're in layout space, we're going to right click and go to page setup manager, then modify. And what you'll see is that there's no plot style, but you have a bunch of different options now. So these are options that were not necessarily there before. So if we click on monochrome.ctb and then we click OK and then close, again, I'm going to save this out and then reopen so that we can actually get a feel for whether this worked. So we'll save this as temp 7, a lot of temp files here. So if we go now and open temp 7, you'll see in our paper space that we do have the monochrome established. And then if we go into our model, we're good to go. So we don't have to do any of the adjusting of the plot styles or anything like that. So if we go to layout 2, let's just take a look at what's happening with that monochrome. So if we go again to styles manager and then we click, it's this monochrome that we're working with. So we can go over to form view and you can see what's actually or we can table view, might be a little bit easier to see. So you can see that here we have control over every single color that we're using. So we're going to click on each color, and then you see under each color we have black set. So in the form view you can see the same thing. So if we keep going down, you'll see that all of these are exactly the same. They all have the color black selected, and then they all have the same settings. So this obviously gives you a much more fine control. The little bit of a pain with using these types of plot styles is that if you choose, let's say we choose like color 174 to be something different, you then have to remember that color 174 is the one that you chose. So it's useful if you're going to do one like this and you're going to make really fine adjustments. Obviously, if they're all just black, you don't have to do this. But if you're adjusting sort of one by one of each of these layers to be different colors and different line types and things like that, then it's good to keep like an Excel sheet to call out what the differences are in each one of those files. So that's the basic difference between the CTB and the STB. Again, you can read through that article really quickly to see which one is better for the application that you're using. The STB seems pretty straightforward. I've never used them, but it seems like those might be a pretty clear option for the early experiments that you're doing.